So when you get into self-improvement, you're in there to self-improve, right? You want to improve every aspect of your life, and you're so excited that this whole new world of self-improvement you found. It's so empowering. Like, I can become anyone I want to be, right? You picture yourself as a video game character who can maximize every single piece of ability that you've got, right? But as you progress in self-improvement, you figure out that the people who do make serious progress are the ones who are able to focus on a very narrow set of skills, right? But they get really good at those, right? And this is based on the book called Essentialism, right? I watched a video from Hamza where he spoke about it, and he drew the circle, right? He drew the circle that had many different arrows out, right? Like, this is someone chasing all these different things, right? There are many different arrows, but they didn't go very far. They were very short. And then there was another one where there was one arrow, but it was long, going in one direction. And that's basically self-improvement, like, in a nutshell, right? If you picture all the really successful people right? I'm talking about athletes, actors, singers, to these self-improvement gurus, businessmen, whoever it is that you look at and you're like, that person's really successful in this, right? They got really good in one thing. They got exceptionally good at one thing. And that allowed them to sort of get good at everything else, right? For a really long time, whoever it was, even these self-improvement gurus, they've gotten good at, if it's YouTube, they've gotten really good at making YouTube videos. If it's podcasting, they've gotten really good at podcasting. If it's the businessmen that they bring onto there, they've gotten really good at business. Or if it's like, the fitness influencers, again, they've gotten really good at fitness, right? But all of them have one thing in common. They had one thing that they got, it was the center, it was their purpose, it was the center of their life. Everything was evolved around that. Picture the fitness guy, right? The main thing that got them successful was that they trained very consistently, they ate well, right? It was that. But everything else is centered around that. Whether they decided to like optimize, I'm gonna get good sleep so I can increase my muscle gains, or I'm gonna start changing up my diet like this so I can do this, or I'm gonna work out at this time of the day so I can do this, or like my work schedule is like this, so I'm gonna find a way to fit whatever it was, all towards one thing, right? Same with businessmen, same with athletes, whatever it was. That's essentialism in a nutshell, right? If you want to get really good at something, you want to become really successful, you aim at one thing. Now, I know getting into self-improvement, especially if you're young, you've got a lot of deficiencies in your life, right? Like, I can just picture as a young man, like, you've got your physique you need to improve, you need to make money, you need to like start looking more attractive, whatever it is, right? But what I can say to you, and another one, a very important one, is building a friend group, right? Like, those are the main things. Whatever I can say is that, like, you need to narrow down your things. Stop trying to chase all these little things, right? Just do the few things that will get you to where you want to get to, right? So, for me, I narrowed it down. I could only narrow it down to like 4, but like 2 of them are kind of passive, or they got to a point where they're passive. So I'll say the first one has been either work or school. I finished studying, so now it's work. Work is one. The second one is YouTube. Like, this is my side hustle, right? I need to do this. And then the third one was building a friend group, right? Like, I need to build like my wolf pack. That's one thing I learned. I was watching Kevin Samuel's video, and it was like the number one thing that young men fail to do nowadays. The problem is that they're trying to go at it alone, right? And you can't go at it alone in this world. You need to have like friends. Like, you need to have your wolf pack of like-minded guys. So that's been my third one. And then my fourth one has been gym, getting into good shape. And I'm in okay shape. I've gained like a little bit of weight, but I'm just gonna like lose that. It's gonna take me like a month or so, and then I'm just gonna get to a point where it's passive, right? I go to the gym, I work out Monday to Friday. I have like a decent diet, just lunch and dinner. I eat clean. That's it, right? Like, I'm not wasting time on it anymore. I did that the last couple of years. I set out my workout routine. I know what workouts I need to do. My routine is written. It's there in the cupboard. Like, I've written it in a book. I know what I need to do. I'm not tracking calories anymore. Like, I know what calories. Like, I've done all of that, right? Now it's just a passive thing. I just wake up, go to the gym, and then I eat lunch and dinner, and I eat clean. But that's all I'm worried about, right? So mainly there's like 3 active things I'm focusing on, and the building like a friend group thing. Like, again, that's something that after a certain point, I want that to just be like a passive thing where it's like, oh, you just meet up with your friends, or you do calls, or whatever it is. And the goal is to get to a point where you're only focusing on one thing, like actively, and you're putting all you have into that, because that's where the real progress is made, right? So identifying your keystone habits and building them, right? I just mentioned to you the list I made of my four like keystone things that I need to aim at, right? And again, for each one, you write a keystone habit. What's a keystone habit, right? A keystone habit is that one thing that will make you the most progress, right? Think of the Pareto principle. The 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions, right? I mentioned all these people, athletes. Okay, picture a footballer, right? What's the 20% of his actions that's going to get him 80% of his results, right? It's practicing, right? They're practicing football, you know. Obviously, that can be broken down into many different things, but main thing is they go to practice regularly, right? Or the fitness guy, right? It's gym. You gym and you eat. Those are the two main things. But yeah, if you're consistent with that, that's where the progress comes from. If you're a YouTuber, what's your keystone habit? Film videos and post consistently. That's your main thing, right? So for me, I've detailed out my four categories, right? So for me, I have work, right? Work is, you go to work. And again, it can be broken down into many different categories. There's a social aspect and there's like a working aspect. The main thing is I'm going to work and I'm working hard, basically. That's it. The second one I said was YouTube. And again, I mentioned the keystone habit for that is recording videos, right? Recording videos every week to post. And there's like scripting and stuff that goes in with that, and like learning about algorithms and all that. But the main thing is make sure I'm filming videos, right? And the third one of like building friend groups, again, the main thing for that, I was trying to build like an online friend group. The main thing for me was to go into Discord and message people, right? Like-minded people, and get them onto calls. That was the keystone habit for that. That's it. And the fourth one, gym. My keystone habit is go to the gym and just eat clean, basically. Those are the keystone habits. So yeah, you want to build your keystone habits. Now I want you to detail out everything, right? And I think that I did this when Hamza made a video where he was speaking about this, about like leaning. You want to lean down your goals, right? Because again, think of the diagram I spoke about. You have the one circle with many different arrows, but they're not going very far. You have the other circle with one arrow, but it's going very far, right? The more lean your goals are, the more progress you'll make at those goals, on those goals, right? So I want you to write down, just take out a notepad when you find time. You can even do it right now if you want. Write down all the goals you want, right? Everything, every part of your life you want to improve, right? And I want you to slowly but surely just start scratching out until if you can narrow it down. Okay, if you're like new to self-improvement, or you have like a lot of areas in your life you really want to improve right now, and you can't like just focus on one thing, I would say try to get down to like 3. Really try to get down to 3. Yeah, ideally you want to, it's the thing that David Goggins said, right? It's like you can't have this like balanced life. Like you have to be unbalanced for a while. And that's the same thing applies to your goals. One is always going to take like more priority over the other one. So I want you to break it down to like 3. And the way you want to do that, if you want to get help in sort of like crossing out the goals that don't matter so much, is at the end of the year, right? If you could only pick 3 and you could only be successful at like 3, or you can start with 1. If you could only be successful at 1, what would it be? Like if you could look back and you could only pick 1 that you'd be really successful at, that would change your life completely, which one would it be, right? Now for most people it's probably going to be like something that makes money, because obviously once you start making a lot of money your life completely changes. But you can pick what that is for you. At the end of the year, if you were to be successful at only 1, which one would change your life the most? And you pick that 1 and you do that for 3. Just do that for 3. If you can narrow it down to 1 that is S tier, that is perfect, right? But I know it's difficult because we all have like many different like parts we want to improve in our lives. But yeah, you want to do that. Then once you do that, just detail the keystone habits, right? Again, it's always going to have like multiple components to it, but you want to focus on the most important one. Pareto principle. What's the 20% that's going to give me 80% of the results, right? So if you've detailed, like I said, if you've detailed gym, like getting into shape, what's the 20% that's going to get you the 80% of results? It's going to be gymming consistently, number 1. And number 2, like eating clean, right? If you're trying to lose weight, eating less. If you're trying to gain weight, it's eating more. That's that. If it's like a side hustle, some sort of business you're doing, again, what's the keystone habit? Like you need to work at the business, like on the business, and actually do it. Or if it's studying, right? Or if it's school, like what's the main thing? Studying. That's it. And then the third one, whatever it is, right? But you want to narrow things down. And I'll give you like a quote that I've been learning, like from listening to Chris Williamson's podcast, the Modern Wisdom podcast. And he said that like you need to choose what you want to suck at in advance, right? You need to choose like, oh, I'm going to suck at this area in my life and this area in my life and this area in my life in advance, because you're cutting out all the noise so you can focus on the one thing you want to be really good at, right? and I think for me, there's been sort of like a mindset shift, right? Like, because I was watching, you'd watch people like Iman Gadzi. Like Iman Gadzi, he like exudes sort of like a guy who's like made it, like past like, it's past the self improvement things of like, oh, like he's made videos about like monk mode and like you wake up, meditate for 10 minutes, do this, do this, do that. But he said himself, he's gotten to a point now where he doesn't do any of that, right? He has like monk mode periods, but really like, he'll wake up and he'll be scrolling on his phone or whatever, but he does the one thing. He does the one thing, and the one thing is he's always working on his businesses, right? And that's sort of one thing you realize about like really high level people is they're not focusing on like the intricacies. It's more of like they really focus on the things that matter, because time is of the essence, right? You want to put all that time into something that's really important, and you want to start thinking like someone like that, right? Like, I'm not waking up, like I've gotten to a point, obviously if you're starting, you still need to like track calories and stuff. But when it comes to like gymming, I've gotten to a point where I'm not tracking calories, like I asked myself like, 10 years from now, I don't want to still be tracking calories, married with kids and I've got like, my life is like great and I'm still tracking calories, like it's like, no, I want to just be like, okay, I wake up, I go and I exercise or whatever it is, and then I eat like this. I eat my meals, but I know what I'm eating. Like I'm not tracking calories, just things like that. Yep, you want to get to a point where it's like that, where you're just focusing on the main things, and that's how you build that's how you identify and build your keystone habits. Make sure you subscribe to join the Self Improvement Brotherhood, and until next time, see you boys.